Welcome to Jurassic World.
Good morning, guests. Welcome to the Jurassic World Minute, where we visit Jurassic World 1 minute at a time. Put ACU on alert. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And on this episode, we're discussing minute 36 of Jurassic World. But before I get to that, David, heading over to Jurassic-Pedia.com, we've been talking about the Mercedes car commercials for a few minutes, or across a few minutes now, and it's probably about time we actually talk about Claire's Mercedes here, since I'm pretty sure this is the last time we see it. So, the GLE Coupe, which was made... looks like it was made for the film, then released in 2016, so we're looking at a prototype or a concept vehicle here in Jurassic World.
Yeah. I do remember Mercedes really hyping this up. I think they had a thing they did on Twitter where there was like, this post gets so many likes, we'll release this photo of the Indominus next to the next to the car, and they did. And then there was another thing they did where they did like a commercial where they just stitched together a bunch of... it was kind of both A-roll and B-roll footage of the car, because it was just a bunch of footage of the car traveling up and down the roads on Kauai. Mm-hmm. And some of the footage we actually get here coming up in this next minute.
Yeah, because all that stuff was filmed on the island, so it was there. Mm-hmm. It was there on island, and they made full use of it being there by advertising. Getting some extra video for it as well.
Which honestly kind of reminds me a bit of what they did for The Lost World, where they had the Mercedes G-Class, those custom G-Class wagon that they did. And they did a bunch of promotional just pictures of, I think, both the G-Wagon and the Unimog, both in Northern California, that they had a lot of marketing done for. Like they just took so many pictures of it, and they just released so many pictures. I think there was some of the pictures ended up in magazines, some of them ended up in, I think it was the box art for I'm forgetting the name of the brand, but they do the snap tight models.
Yeah, some of those photos that appeared on merchandise that we never seen in the film. I hope you mean the M-Class there too, not the G-Wagon. that's from this film with the 6x6 as a G-Wagon.
Oh yeah,
and the other wags. Just all the Lost World fans are yelling. I can hear it.
And it's funny. I mean, I'm probably one of the biggest Lost World fans you'll find around. But I was just talking with somebody who has been conversing with me for the past couple of weeks. He's up in Northern California. I think he lives around there, and he's been hunting for photos and stuff like that. And he found out that he emailed me today to tell me that the area where Deer gets lost in The Lost World, and he passes that bent fallen log on the ground. That shot is actually shot right behind where Carter was sitting. But it turns out that the National Park Service decided that would be a good place to start dumping trimmings there. So now the place is covered in evergreen trimmings. Oh. And he was really disappointed to relay that information to me, and I was really disappointed to hear it.
That's no good.
Yeah.
ruin the area. With the Coupe here, it's described as mid luxury or mid-sized luxury sports utility vehicle. I'll just go back again to the M-Class being something specially made, or in The Lost World in '97, when I don't think it was readily available until '98. Same here with this not being available till the year after. And I remember early on when I was looking, I really want to buy an Explorer, and finding that you could only sort of buy an Explorer from '94 onwards. It was very hard to find the earlier version that they had in the film as well.
Yeah, they are, and I know that a lot of fans who do get them typically don't add the bubble top because that's kind of something that's prone to leaking.
Yeah,
I know of very, very few fans that actually add that bubble top and seal it and all that so it doesn't leak in rain or anything.
Yeah, it's got to be done right. Otherwise, you're in for a world of hurt doing all that interior work and having it get wet every time it rains. It'd be a nightmare. I did love too. I don't know if it was official or if it was fan art of the Coupe here, done up in sort of a more rustic Explorer colours. I think it had a gun mount on the back of it as well. Do you remember that? It was it'd have to be fan done. It sort of had that Lost World vibe with the bars on the windows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the Indominus was looking at it there as well. It was on a cliff or something overlooking it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the promotional picture that Mercedes released if they got so many likes.
Oh, that's that one. Okay. Yeah, well, this minute we get to see it parked up in front of the Indominus pen, and then next minute we get to see Claire driving it really fast back to the control panel. But apart from that, we don't see it at all again in the film.
I think she parks it here. Or parks it at, or not here, at the, she parks it at the control room or wherever that staff parking area is, and then she just never needs it again, because then they take that, the other car, the other one.
The G-Wagon.
I can't remember what it's called.
That's the G-Wagon.
The boxy SUV out to the park with Owen.
I can't wait.
He's the one that actually shows up at the control room. And so she kicks him out, and then's like, wait a second, I need him.
Yeah.
You're rehired.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get to there. So yeah, head over to Jurassic-Pedia for that article and many more on the Jurassic vehicles.
So the paddock is quite safe then?
We have the best structural engineers in the world.
Yeah, so did Hammond.
Before we get into minute 36, I just wanted to bring up some feedback and discussion we've been having on social medias, mainly Twitter and a couple of the Facebook page. Been a lot of discussion sparked back up again by some people sharing around the Worker Village photos of the Sliders photos featuring the Worker Village, and I've been posting up and sharing our episode we done on that and the run sheet with all the timestamps, and it's been good having a little bit of discussion once again about the Worker Village being in stuff other than the Lost World. And then during the week, someone come forward posting up some photos, a trailer of a little 1998 film called Gangland, where there does appear to be several shots inside the Worker Village and the operations building as well.
Yes, it was Philippe Humboldt, who co-runs the Behind the Gates Facebook page. He really dropped the trailer in the comment section, I think, of the Sliders post that we were discussing just now. And they show a model, I guess a model was done of the Worker Village for this movie. And in the trailer, they show the model being blown up, and I'm like, like, oh my god, man, my childhood, no.
Going back to 1998, we'd just seen the White House explode in Independence Day a couple of years earlier, and now they've model makers have made a model of that in the operations building and had it explode. So I've found the DVD on eBay. It's on its way to me now, and I cannot wait to have a look at that, and I'll report back on the November issue of Jurassic Minutes.
Yeah, please do, because I'd like to see if there's anything see if the DVD is worth getting, you know?
Yeah, because there's one shot in there two guys, looking up past two guys, and you can see the bars on the windows, like in the roof, and then you can see the base of the tower behind it. So they're over in front of the tower on that left-hand side of the building, and all the vines are hanging from the roof and everything still as well. So, being a 1998 film, it probably would have been in production the end of 97, which we know the working village was mainly still dressed then. So
yeah, for the tram tour.
Yeah,
too.
Yep. So
this is still very hot for the Lost World. It's not like they started kind of at the end there towards Jurassic Park 3, removing buildings and stuff.
Yep. So anticipation is very high, and here we are, 23 years later, and more of the Lost World's coming out that we just did not know exist.
Yeah.
Almost 40 feet high. You really think she could have climbed out?
Depends.
On what?
What kind of dinosaur they cooked up in that lab?
All right, Dave, ready to get into minute 36?
Yeah.
As we're in minute 35 of Jurassic World, Owen pointed out some rather curious scratch marks leading up the Indominus enclosure. As we open on minute 36, Claire gasps and says, "Oh God," coming to the conclusion that she's escaped. She walks straight for the door, saying something about an implant in the animal's back and being able to track it from the control room. At the 16-second mark, we cut to another Mercedes-Benz commercial, as Claire drives the car rather fast down a muddy jungle road. To make matters worse, she's on her phone, telling whoever's on the other side we have an asset out of containment. At the 24-second mark, we cut to the control room, where Larry is boring Vivian with the story of his childhood. At the 30-second mark, an alarm sounds, and a big red dot starts to flash on the map of the island, followed by the phone ringing. Claire tells Larry she wants the coordinates for the Indominus. At the 44-second mark, we cut back to the Indominus enclosure, as Owen and the park supervisor open a door and enter the pen. And as the minute ends, Owen reaches out and touches the large scrapings in the concrete wall, trying to think like the Indominus. As we end the last minute with Claire putting two and two together, she sort of gasps and mouths, "Oh God," and she makes for the door saying she has an implant in her back and I can track it from the control room. Owen doesn't say a word here, just sort of stands there looking confused at her as she leaves, and then he turns and looks back at the scratches on the wall. And this is the first time we've actually seen him in the film. It looks like she's climbed straight up the side of that wall. And also I love the return of that Indominus theme here too. So that eerie score.
Yeah, those kind of groaning horns are a very nice touch, because it's very unique, and you notice it right away.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you hear it and you think Indominus.
Before we transition to another car commercial, you gotta wonder here, and we've sort of been talking about this needs to happen for plot, but why is no one thinking, no matter how much or how little access that computer terminal in the corner has, it's still receiving video from the pen. That wall wasn't marked up. Well, she must have marked that wall up last time the supervisor went to the toilet or had a break, because it's right there next to the windows. And I went back and sort of, you can sort of clearly see that section of wall when Masrani and Claire were there earlier, observing and trying to see where the IREX was, and those scratches weren't there. So she's done that in the time that Claire's left to go and get Owen. So whether the supervisor's gone and got lunch and come back in that time as well, and that's when she's done it. But then again, like we said, when they come to the pen, there's workmen all over this thing. If she had escaped, someone would have seen it. There'd be screams. There'd be people running in every direction.
Yeah, true. But then again, she also seems to be aware that the Indominus has, I think, like what is it called, thermal sensing or something like that, or
it can sense thermal radiation.
Yeah, so she may have escaped towards the other way into the jungle where the workers aren't working on. You know? Yeah.
Yep. But then put the scratch marks up the wall on that back section of fence, not the front one here. Because when we arrived before, there was two workers on that I-beam sitting there having lunch directly in front of where this wall scratched up.
Mm-hmm.
But then, yeah, there's the other things too. Like, you can't contact the control room at all. You can't track it from this terminal. You're just on your phone to your sister in the car driving, but you can't call the control room. I could understand if she just had to go back to a car to grab a phone because she didn't have it with her. If there's no communications here, we know from future minutes the paddock supervisor's got a radio on his shoulder, so there's ways to communicate there back to the control room.
That, and I think that the that paddock control room has a phone. Like I mean, I'm not sure if it's like I don't think it's a landline, but I think it does have some kind of whatever phones they have nowadays. But yeah, it's not completely cut off from the outside world. I mean, they actually have a way of communicating between, besides that guy's radio, you know.
Mm. And he's got his hand on it, on the receiver, as she's walking out too. It's just her not being able to, not so much give orders, but her decision making here. It's not the best. She's going to drive all the way back to control room, and then ring the control room on the way back to put AC on alert when they should be on alert right now. As soon as no thermal signature, the computer should automatically put AC on alert. You'd think.
Yeah. Well, I do know that her not contacting the control room from the IREX paddock is kind of one of the major complaints of the movie, and even the fact that she has her cell phone on her if she just called the control room, or they just show that she tries calling the control room and then she has no reception. I think that would kind of be a quick fix, you know?
Yeah, and it does. We do see later, well, it seems when we do get back to the control room, the tracking system works off satellite, and maybe this computer doesn't have that sort of access even in 2015. I'm sure it would, but even just the fact that Owen sort of does nothing here, just sort of stands there and lets her leave.
Mm-hmm. Even then, I mean, the paddock controls in this control room seem to be rather rudimentary for the time being. They seem like what controls they have are meant to control things like doors and cranes to feed her and very basic stuff like that. It's not meant to show light shows or any kind of stuff that they have yet to program the computer system with when they eventually open the attraction to the public.
Yeah. And again, I suppose, just in the grand scheme of things, this is once again the folly of man. But that's when we do cut to the other Mercedes commercial. All of a sudden, the road's wet here, which I'm guessing it's just in the shade in the tropics, maybe from a couple of days ago when it was wet. But we pan around the car to the open passenger window where we can see or hear Claire on the phone yelling, "We have an asset out of containment." Another one of those trailer lines. And a bad idea driving down a muddy road with the windows open, especially in a Mercedes.
Speaking from experience.
Yes. Yep. I know it's so the camera on the dolly can pan around and come in through the window as she's talking, but yeah, it's a bad idea. ACU, first time we've I'll put ACO on alert. This is not a drill. You sort of hear that scared tone in her voice, and our first mention of ACU.
I will say that even as commercially as the shot seems that pan around the front of the car, I do wish we kind of got more shots of vehicles out in this kind of wilderness area, because that's always seemed very Jurassic to me. The whole cars or Jeep Ford Explorers on a dirt road in the middle of the jungle, you know.
Yeah, I think that's another one of those massive disappointments with the film, is just how little the vehicles are used. They're more so just for a transition a lot of the time. Here, we get another shot later of just him and Owen and Claire on a quad for a couple of seconds. The G-Wagon, of course, and the Mercedes 6x6. I don't know what it's specifically called. We'll get to that when we get to them. But when we seen those things on trucks in Kauai or in Hawaii and started seeing trailers and seeing these things, knowing these things were going to be in the film, thinking that thing's going to go up and headbutt a T-Rex or something. Just we're gonna have these cars fighting dinosaurs and.
Well, I mean, I saw the 6x6, and like one of the first things I saw was, the T-Rex is going to have so much fun shredding that. And then we never even get the two in the same scene, you know?
Yeah. And we haven't got to my favourite sort of car shots yet, but it's the convoy, the ACU convoy going after it, going past the Jungle River, and you just see that the Vito van and that with all the bars on the windows, and it just screams Lost World.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame. Well, we know Mercedes gave them a lot of the vehicles to use in the film, and part of the contract was they couldn't be destroyed, which you're lending your stuff to Jurassic, so you've got to expect something to be destroyed.
Well, I mean, the other thing, though, is could they at least have been repainted? I mean, no offense, but bright silver cars in the middle of the jungle doesn't exactly scream like safari, you know?
That's a conversation we're going to have when we get to them, because that's not their natural colour. They were actually painted for the film, then reverted back to the original colours afterwards.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I've seen the G-Wagon on the streets, and they're always silver. Same with the van that we see here.
Well, spoiler alert for probably minute 58 or whenever we get to it. They were all black, and they had 7 of them.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. There's one fan that's actually got one of the original black after it was reverted back. I think they sold a couple off. I think he's in the motor pool now. I remember seeing it a little while ago. But yeah, black G-Wagons, paint them silver, put a blue line on them, have them in the film, then sand all the paint off them and paint them black again. It just boggles the mind. But we'll talk about more about them when we get to them. More so just as a general purpose park vehicle. There's too many vehicles in this park with that and everything else as well. I don't think we actually get... ACU is always described as ACU in the film. I think the only way we know it's Animal Control Unit is from marketing material.
I think you're right. We'll have to check as we're going through the film, but yeah.
Yeah. If anywhere, it'll be when we get to the change rooms and we get the map on the wall and that maybe there's a sign saying Animal Control Unit this way or something. But that's when we cut to a quiet control room. On the map, the park's slowly going about its normal day. Vivian and Larry seated at their stations, and Larry is boring Vivian with a story about his stepfather or big brother or something. Talking about his childhood anyway. And here we get another cameo from Ian's book on her workstation. And that's when a alarm suddenly sounds in the restricted zone and the red circle begins to pulse. The phone rings and Larry lazily picks it up. Yeah, hello. Not very professional. It doesn't even seem like this phone rings that often.
It probably doesn't. It's probably like an emergency phone. And he probably didn't even know what it was. He just picked it up because he was the closest person near it.
I'd laugh if it was a staff complaint line or something. And he's just expecting it to be some worker that's lost their hat or been kicked in the shin by a toddler. I wonder if this is the main line in the control room as well, how the phones even work, if it went through a switching station or a reception sort of thing before it come to here, or if Claire's got a direct line to these two.
Considering her position as like park supervisor, I'd imagine she probably does have a direct line, you know?
Which is weird that she's calling the control room and put AC on alert when she should have their direct number as well. Just saving time.
She might have already contacted them because, like you said, the screen goes red right away. And, I mean, I don't see any reason why that should be an automatic thing. I'd imagine that'd be something that would be, you know? I mean, because the animal hasn't actually escaped. So if it was automatic, it wouldn't have gone off. Somebody had to have triggered the alarm, basically.
Well, before in the car, she was on the phone saying put ACO on alert. This is before she rings the control room. She's calling the control room now to find the coordinates on the Indominus, not to let them know that it's out.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I missed that bit. That's when Claire says, Larry, get me the coordinates on the Indominus. And I love her still wearing the Jurassic Park t-shirt here. Obviously, he hasn't gone home and changed.
You see, as I'm sitting here wearing a Jurassic World t-shirt.
It probably shows, too, the fact that all these control room scenes were probably filmed on the same day. Mm-hmm. No wardrobe changes there at all, either.
Well, it is all supposed to even be the course of the same day. It's not like... Usually workplaces don't let you go home to change on the same day.
Yeah, even though she thought the shirt was in bad taste, letting him wear it all day anyway. Mm. But he and Vivian look at each other confused for a moment before he sort of says, yeah, okay, let me do it for you right now. And that's when we cut to Masrani entering the control room here also, wondering if he just flew back from Paddock 11 or if maybe he was getting some lunch. He's sort of playing with his cufflinks, doing his cufflinks up here, so maybe he's just changed his shirt. In the novel, it does say he just come from lunch, so that's where he's been. We cut to door opening. Owen and the supervisor looking out into the Indominus enclosure. Almost dead quiet, apart from those buzzing, the sounds of the jungle, those insects, which I'd have to think is sort of real audio taken from Kauai. Mm-hmm. And not the best idea here. They work further out into the enclosure. I just would have loved this cut scene or something of them two in the observation room. Either rock, paper, scissors. Should we? Shouldn't we? Whose idea this was? If Alan said I need to go out and see that, or you'd think he'd be smarter, but then I don't know. It just adds that problem of why are they in here. Also, from where they are here, you can see Sam in this shot looking through the foliage to the front gate. The small entrance appears to be in the rear wall of the paddock, so we got more than one entrance point into the Indominus enclosure. As they walk on, we can already see another worker in a white hard hat standing at the marked up wall, so he's already gone in there and checked if the coast is clear, it seems, before Owen's gone in. And as the minute ends, Owen calls on his force powers and sort of runs his hand up the marked wall, sensing Indominus's feelings.
I do like the shot here, though, of Owen and the guard there walking through that pathway to the front gate. It does feel very Jurassic-y, you know.
Yep. And the enclosure's pretty nicely populated.
But if that other guy is still in here, it does kind of beg the question,